Welcome to a new edition of Let's Talk. Today we have a special feature with Mayor Harold Copenhaver and Chief Rick Elliott. Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you.
Good afternoon.
Today we're going to talk a little bit about how safety, crime, and how your city leadership is dealing with battling the trouble that's actually nationwide, right? The trend of crime within our city.
Sure.
Well, first of all, I want to say thank you to not only our police chief, but his entire administration and our officers that are in our streets every day and taking care of our community. But more importantly, I want to say thank you for this opportunity because we listen to what the community has to say.
Right.
And I think it's really important that you and everybody in the community understand the investment that we continue to make, not only what we've done in the last 3 years, but that has enabled us to create what we feel is a much safer community than we've even had the last 2 years.
Right.
And I'm going to turn that over to Chief Elliott to go ahead and supply us with additional numbers. But again, it's important that the citizens of Jonesboro know that our investment is working and it's paying off, but primarily we have created an environment for our officers, not only for them to feel safe in their line of duty, but also to provide us a service at a high expectation that we all anticipate, and they're doing that with much success.
Great. I'd love to hear from you. Crime has not increased?
No, that's in spite of popular social media comments, crime rate in Jonesboro has trended down over the past couple of years. We have a 10-year study that we post on our website, and when you look at the crime, when you go back to 2020, that's a higher crime rate that year for violent crime than the past 2 years. And this year is on track to be trending even lower.
So why do you think within the community there might be talks about crime increasing?
When things happen in the community with social media, it gets out a lot sooner than it did, say, years ago.
Okay.
So there's a perception that, there's constantly something going on. Another thing will pop up on social media is one of the news stations will do a breaking news. Police investigating a shooting or stabbing or robbery, but they don't always do the disclaimer of the city that has taken place.
Right.
So there's a lot of people in Jonesboro just assume that every time there's a breaking news, it's just strictly Jonesboro, but it's not. Our TV station is a regional station and it covers regional news. So you have to follow up on that breaking news and see what is actually going on. And a lot of times it's not Jonesboro. But again, when something does break loose in Jonesboro, we post that out there on, of course, Channel 8, and we do the same thing on our Facebook page also. When something does happen, we post it first, then the media takes it from our social media and disseminates it out from there.
So I've lived in large cities as well, and oftentimes some of these things that are being covered by the news in a larger city, they wouldn't cover that necessarily, but here, because we're a little bit smaller than those larger cities, they cover everything, even something that's maybe been resolved.
Well, that's important, whether it's resolved or not. The fact that if something has taken place, we want it to be covered, and then obviously if it is resolved, we want that to be covered also, that there was a resolution, made by an arrest. So it's important for the people to realize that, bad things do happen.
Right.
A lot of these things, we as a police department, we don't have control over. I can't control when a robbery is going to take place or not take place, or who's selling drugs and things like that. But what I can control is how we deal with it and how we prosecute it and move forward after the incident has happened. So that kind of attributes to a lot of what we hope to see is a reduction in this crime rate as it goes down, is being more proactive in what we do day in and day out and getting the criminal element off the street. We can go back and look at our crime and see what the driving factor is on a lot of this crime, whether it be violent crime or whether it be property crimes. It's drugs. This country has a huge appetite for drugs, and Jonesboro's no different. And that appetite for illegal drugs, people are going to steal to feed that appetite, and they're going to do it. They're going to commit robberies and things like that. But the consequence is that, hey, with more technology in place, we have better success rate and apprehension now than we did just a few years ago with our new technology that we have in place throughout the city. That technology is our cameras,
Right.
the real-time crime center, and license plate readers. And currently, we're running over 700 cameras throughout the city. This project has grown tremendously just in the past 3 years. When the mayor came in, we sat down and kind of talked about how we had started with this technology, and immediately when he came into office, he embraced the concept, and we continue to move forward.
So I see the need for that. As you know, some of the stats were all the way back to, 2016 or something.
2013.
Okay, so in that time frame since then, Jonesboro's also grown by approximately 15,000 people.
Probably around 8,000 people in the 10-year period. In the
Okay.
20-year period, we're
Okay.
probably 20,000 people.
Okay, so with that comes a greater need for
Sure.
things like a real-time crime center, or like the recent increase in salaries. And if you want to speak to that, Mayor, on your approach to, okay, a growing city, we are growing as a city, and then how can we, work towards a safer community, as that was one of your top priorities, is safety.
That's correct, and we continue that. From the basis of what the community was really asking for was a safe community, which leads to a better quality of life as
Right.
well. And all those initiatives kind of go hand in hand with each other. And so the importance of us investing in the quality of our officers from the standpoint of their hourly. We've gone to 11-hour shifts for patrol officers, and now they're able to relax for 5 days. Instead of always coming into work, they weren't getting time off, they weren't getting away from their weekends, they were being spent at work and not with their family. And so this is able to allow them to decompress, and that way they're really effective when they're on the street. So morale, for one.
Right.
The other side of things is the community engagement, and that's where Chief and I have really talked a lot about how we can continue to keep that motivation there to where our community is aware of what's going on around them. And
Right.
we've got to educate the community. We're a growing city.
Right.
With that comes other growing pains. But the essence of all this is if you come to our town to do bad things, we're going to make sure that you don't come here anymore. And this is the goal, and we're going to continue that goal. And the investment in our pay raise, it's been pay raises over the last several years. And this one was a very significant one. We did it without a tax increase. But more importantly, I listened to what the officers had to say and who it affected. So it affected every one of our officers, not just a small bit. And so in that, we're investing in resources as well for their protection. So
Right.
we're providing them the best equipment that we have capable when it comes to technology as well. But the other side of this is we continue to put our investment in our parks. We have 25 parks. And I think you're going to see, and Chief can probably go over with those numbers with you, the safety for women in our community and young families and all families in particular. We're very safe. And you can go to any of our parks and enjoy your time in our parks. And that's what we want to do. And we've got to continue moving that forward. So in enhancing our sidewalks and walkways in our community for the better of quality of place in Jonesboro.
Right. So I hear that Jonesboro now, as far as JPD goes, is one of the top
Yes.
within the state.
We're one of the top municipal agencies, top paid municipal agencies in the state now with this recent adjustment. So that has really helped us on recruiting. We're very competitive with the local job market or their industrial partners, what a person will be making out there. And then in the law enforcement realm, we're very competitive, not only across the state, but across the region. This last group that we just hired, I had a young man from California.
Okay.
So, he had some former ties to Jonesboro and saw that what the pay was up to at this point, and decided to move back. And so he's currently in our class. We've had some other individuals, some other states apply, and we're doing backgrounds on them now. So it has had not only a regional effect, but it's gained attention from other law enforcement agencies across the country.
So it's my understanding that you are now at full capacity for the first time in maybe 4 or so years.
Yeah.
What difference do you see? What difference does that make in a practical level? You know, as an everyday resident of Jonesboro, why should that be important to me?
We'll cut down the workload on the officers that's on the street because they're not having to answer as many calls. So it kind of spread that workload out. But more
Right.
important, it gave us a chance to get back and start doing more proactive policing and engaging the community. What we do, what we try to strive for. And that engagement is just these officers getting out and just taking time, getting out of the unit and visiting with kids that may be playing basketball and just have a positive interaction with the public.
Yes.
So that public support is what we pride ourselves on, that we try to stay engaged with the community, and the end result is the community has great support for the police department. There are agencies around the state that are very jealous of how this community supports our police department because they don't get that kind of support in the community that they serve. So I think we're very blessed as a police department to have such community support that we do have.
Community engagement is super important.
Absolutely.
In building the trust between your officers and then the residents of the community and vice versa.
Absolutely. You know, years ago when I took over, there was not that trust, and it's taken me 9 years to overcome some previous obstacles. And we started things like our Citizen Police Academy program.
Yes.
We've completed 16 sessions, graduated somewhere over 400 people now through the program. But it is education to the public. You know, an informed public makes better decisions when they speak of Jonesboro.
Yes.
It's those individuals on the social media that are not informed that tend to speak the most, and you know, they're just speaking negative of the town they live in, and as opposed to they should be taking that time to give some constructive criticism. If you got something negative, then you should have something positive to fix the problem if you know so much about it.
So one of the ways that someone, if they feel concern, could go about, like, okay, I have this concern, or I really feel passionately about this as a problem, they could be a part of the Citizens Police Academy?
Well, that door's open anytime.
Okay.
If somebody has a concern, they will go to the mayor's office, or they'll come to my office, or sometimes both, and we collectively work on the concern and go from there with it.
That's good.
But if you want to learn more about the police department, more in depth about the police department, then joining the Citizen Police Academy program is the way to do it. It's
Okay.
a 12-week program, one night a week for 12 weeks, and kind of educate yourself on the daily workings of the police department.
I love
Well,
that.
and it's always, Chief and I have been discussing this too. How can we get more information out to the general public? And those that really aren't engaging that would like to engage. And so our door is open at this point in time. What we're going to be doing is a resource learning time during lunch on Tuesdays and Thursdays beginning in January. And if individuals would like to sign up for that, it's just an hour-long informational where they can come and ask myself and Chief Elliott questions. They can see the essence of the Real-Time Crime Center, but more importantly, they can get it right from our
Resource,
informational hub.
right.
And I think it's really important that it's very difficult sometimes to get out all the information that we have to get out. But one thing that always is enlightening to me, and it really grounds me, and I know it does Chief as well, is that when we visit with people that come from outside our community, they talk about what an oasis we have here, how safe they feel here. And I wish that word were out more. And it's unfortunate sometimes to where I've grown up here. I've been here since 1970. So I've been here a long time. It was 28,000 people. I could ride my bike everywhere. But, you know, as we grew, none of that came along with it like you're seeing in other parts of the United States. So right now we're investing in our community, and it's this quality of place, quality of life initiatives, but we've got to be safe in doing that. And that's why we're investing so heavily in this. And the resources that this community has provided our officers and fire department and 911. It's just not our police department.
Right.
We're all working together to provide a safer community, and we're seeing those numbers react to what we're doing in spite of the fact that we're growing.
I love that. So better together. Right?
Better together.
Yes, that's great. So when I look at something like this, the 10-year crime statistics board, it kind of becomes a little bit overwhelming, but as the chief of police, what are the important things, maybe key things?
Sure.
They're all important, but key things that you look at for
Sure.
safety within a community?
Right. So as you look at the board, you can tell it's broken down into sections. In the first section, major crimes against persons, and that's your violent crimes against individuals. So whether it be aggravated assault, robbery, sexual assaults, kidnapping, abductions, murder, that's the violent crimes against persons category. So that's my number one category that I really stay focused on, because that is what people are going to look at when they come to Jonesboro.
Right.
If you're going to send your child to college, when you look at crime stats, you're going to key on, how safe is it? How much is what's the violence level in Jonesboro? When the industry looks at coming to Jonesboro, at some point in time, they're going to look at your crime stats and look at that trend and see how it's trended over the past several years. And as you can see, hey, the past few years, that number's trended down in spite of the growth. So we call it Part 1 crimes. Again, it's the crimes against persons. And kind of, going a little deeper into it, 2020 was a peak year for homicides. And we know from data that most of our homicides, there's generally drugs involved in one way or another. The other, maybe 1%, is domestic violence. So statistically speaking, not only in our community, but most communities across the country, when you hear of a homicide on the streets, most of the times it's probably drug related or domestic violence.
Right.
So, and that goes for the same here when we go back and start breaking down those violent crimes. So 2020 we had 11 homicides. And then 21 we had 8, and 22 we had 9, and as here we are in 23, we've had 4. So the number has trended down over the past few years. Those past 3 years, we've had 100% clearance on the arrest on those cases. So I do pride the hard work of the men and women of the Jonesboro Police Department for that. Again, I can't prevent certain crimes like that, but we can do our best to make sure we solve those crimes, and with the use of technology and the hard work and dedication of the men and women of this department, this is our success.
So this is where the cameras, the real-time crime center, cameras, license plate, tracking, all of that becomes super helpful.
It is all working together. As we said, better together. I've said many times that policing is not a spectator sport. It takes the community to be involved and to help us solve crimes in our community day in and day out. If you see something, say something. It's your community. You live in this community. Get involved. Get engaged in your community. And by doing so, we have better clearance rate on crimes.
Right.
And as I think as we go on forward with that as well, we want our industrial partners to, when they come to our community to look at it, we want them to see these numbers, to say we are making improvements, which is against the norm in other communities in the United States, issues that they're facing just like we are. But the trend is growing in the direction that we want it to, and we're working hard to do that. And also, this helps small businesses. We want our small businesses to feel safe here. And I have many individuals, business owners, that reach out and say, Mayor, would you be able to provide this additional resource? I'm having something coming to our town for the weekend, whatever the case may be, and we do everything we can to provide additional resources to all of our community. So again, we keep investing in this, it'll pay off in the investment. But one area we haven't talked about is investing in our youth. And this is where Chief and I see a major need, and we really need to be really focused on our junior high and high school youth to provide them other opportunities other than to find the easy way out. Okay? And this is where we're moving forward. I'm in conversations now with an organization that works with young men and young women. They do it all throughout the United States, and we don't have that opportunity here. So it's important that we engage our schools, all of our schools, to provide this opportunity. And so we're going to be building on that. And I'll be coming to industrial partners and business partners to say, we need your help, because we need to engage them in jobs. Career fairs are very important, but those type sources we have right here in this community. But by investing in our youth, like we've done in our Mayor's Youth Council, to get them engaged with what's going on in the community, that's where we win. And that's a long-term commitment. We're going to see those dividends pay off.
Right, down the road.
That's
So
right.
it's a attending to the issues at hand, and then an investment for the future. And that's your preventative. That
Correct.
is absolutely
Correct.
Well, the best way to fight crime is to invest in kids.
I believe that
100%.
100%.
So we saw that years ago, back when city youth ministries opened up in town. We saw a big reduction in our juvenile crime rate. And as that concept has grown across the city, after school programs has grown across the city, we're still seeing a relatively low juvenile crime rate. So those programs do work. It gives that child a place to go, and depending on the location, they may get help with their schoolwork, may get some snacks, some kind of mentor to help them in life. So those are very positive programs. We hope that they can expand in Jonesboro. We want them to expand in Jonesboro. All areas of the town need them. But I've always been a huge proponent for any of those type of programs, because I have seen the results.
Yes, and I personally, that's huge. That is
Yes.
a big, I mean, I have my own youth group at home.
Right.
And so,
right.
but I see the
Sure.
need and how important that is for the future.
It's important that they have activities to go through. So all of our community centers, we made upgrades at these centers, and with a new pool going in up at
Yes.
Parker Park, you know, again, that's going to help out the north side of town and give those residents a chance to go and play in the pool and inside the center. So having multiple activities at that center, I think we'll see a huge increase in the center's use during the summertime.
That's great.
So, but as we prepare for that, we're adding more cameras and upgrading our camera technology,
correct.
because we want to keep our kids safe while they're
Safe.
there.
Yep.
And then we're looking at the walkability to the center as we start looking and accessing our sidewalks that's going to it, and already taking in consideration the traffic problems, the kids trying to cross the road there on 141, and making some plans for some adjustments there. So it's a team effort, what we do day in, day out. It is not just the PD doing one thing, and it is the police department working with the mayor's office and our traffic engineers. It takes us all in the parks department. It takes us the whole team working together to do what we do in Jonesboro.
100%.
And people just don't realize how big of a team effort it really is to run this city.
One, it's not just the paid people that need to invest. So
No, it's
yeah.
we depend on our volunteers. I depend on my CPA alumni to help us out on projects. But you know, anytime you engage the community, we always value their input.
100%.
We don't have the answers for everything, so we want community engagement. We look forward to that. Sometimes people have a lot better ideas than we do, and we're certainly open to it. You know.
So, Chief, what could people do to, in a sense, help themselves be safer?
Sure. Personal safety begins when, if you're out and about, always be aware of your surroundings. And we've preached this over and over and over again. There are way too many times I see people getting out of the car, they're on their cell phone, distracted, digging in their purse, whatever. It's like, get all that out of the way. When you get out of the car, take a look around, be aware of what's going on. If something makes you feel uncomfortable and you get that gut feeling, it doesn't feel right, get back in the car and either move to another spot or sit and wait or something. If you see somebody that makes you uncomfortable, then give it a minute and let that person go away. But please lock your car. And right now during the holiday season, if if you have valuables, secure them in the trunk, not where people can see them and break out the window and steal them. But just be aware when you're coming and going. Be aware while you're inside shopping. If you have a purse, don't leave it unattended in the shopping cart.
Well, thank you so much, Chief Elliott and Mayor Copenhaver, for joining us today, and thank you for joining us with Let's Talk Jonesboro. This is Lynette Hirsch, and we'll see you next time.